Making a movie must be an enjoyable but stressful process, especially if the subject is particularly dark or traumatic. And this can be intensified if strange things happen on set, things that cannot be logically explained as just coincidences. In this spooky video, we're going to look at 5 movie sets, some that have depicted the lives of real-life people that appear to have been either cursed or haunted in some way, possibly by the disgruntled deceased subject of the movie, or in at least 2 instances by an altogether sinister force. It's the creepy marathon month, so hit those lights, sit back, and prepare to be spooked. Behind the Candelabra. A biographical film about the last 10 years of the life of flamboyant pianist Liberace, starring Michael Douglas as Liberace and Matt Damon as his lover, Scott Thorson. The movie is based on Scott's memoirs about his time with the pianist and documents the extravagant way Liberace lived his life and how he tried to mold his lover Scott into a younger version of himself by paying for him to have extensive facial surgery. It also reveals his bizarre attempt to try and officially adopt Scott to conceal the fact they were in a gay relationship. But eventually, their relationship breaks down due to Liberace's controlling ways and his obsession with younger men. After the breakup, Scott seeks his financial share of the property they lived in by suing Liberace for over $100 million, and the Palamy lawsuit that follows exposes details of their 5-year romance. We will not, of course, give any more spoilers, but the film ends with Liberace's funeral, in which Scott imagines seeing Liberace performing one last time with his traditional flamboyance before being lifted to heaven with a stage harness. It's no surprise that with such a flamboyant life, that even in death, Liberace would not want to be upstaged. He would also have been mortified at the fact that details of his private life and sexuality had been turned into a movie. So when both Michael Douglas and Matt Damon experienced unusual happenings on the set of the Liberace movie, it was widely believed the man himself was responsible. On more than one occasion, they both felt a cold swirl of air pass by them, and both noted a strong smell of men's cologne, something Liberace was known for. However, perhaps the eeriest thing was when Michael Douglas was portraying full-on Liberace whilst playing the piano, and he felt like someone was touching and caressing his shoulders, despite there being no one near him at the time. There were also reports of lights inexplicably flickering on or off. Many who worked on the film believe Liberace's lingering presence was all around the set, and it's likely he was sending messages from the grave. Although it's hard to say whether he was thrilled at Douglas's portrayal of him, or showing his disapproval about how closely guarded his private life was now being aired for the world to see. Rosemary's Baby. Now, although the actual set of this film was not supposedly haunted, what happened to those who associated with it was so awful, we could not do a list without including it. Released in 1968, Rosemary's Baby is a psychological horror film written and directed by the now disgraced Roman Polanski. It tells the story of Rosemary and Guy Woodhouse, a young couple played by Mia Farrow and John Cassavetes, who move into an apartment in New York that is reputed to have been occupied by Satanists and witches. After befriending their eccentric neighbours, Rosemary becomes suspicious about their behaviour and influence on Guy. They also keep showing up with homemade offerings of food, and one evening, after Rosemary falls asleep after eating one of these concoctions, she has a nightmare about being raped by a beast. Shortly after the incident, she finds out she is pregnant. We will not give away any spoilers, but the film explores the disturbing reality of paranoia, cults, religion, and the devil, and is pretty disturbing. However, the terror didn't end after the camera stopped rolling, and what happened to some of the people involved in the making of the film was every bit as horrific as the movie itself, and left many wondering if some sort of curse had been put on them during its production. Probably the most well-known tragedy happened to the film's director, Roman Polanski. At the time the film was made, he was married to aspiring young actress Sharon Tate, and she wanted the lead role of Rosemary in the film, but this was overruled by the producer Robert Evans, who was determined to get Mia Farrow as the lead actress. Allegedly, Sharon Tate was bitterly disappointed at the decision, and often hung around the set during filming, and even appeared in the background of one of Rosemary's party scenes. Sadly, just a year after the release of Rosemary's Baby, Sharon Tate was dead, brutally stabbed to death by Charles Manson's deranged followers. At the time, she was 8.5 months pregnant with a baby boy. A few months after its completion, the film's composer had a tragic accident. He was accidentally pushed off a ledge by writer Marek Lasko during a drinking party in LA. He suffered catastrophic head injuries, which led to a hematoma of the brain. Although he survived the fall, he remained in a coma and was taken home to Poland, where he died at the young age of just 38. In a tragic twist, his death mirrored that of Rosemary's friend, Hutch, in the film. Then there was the Dakota Building in New York, where all the exterior shots for the apartment in Rosemary's Baby were filmed. Strangely, it was also the site where John Lennon was shot, and whilst he had nothing to do with the film, he was a good friend of Mia Farrow, and that was not the only link. When Sharon Tate was murdered by the Manson family, they wrote Helter Skelter in blood on the wall. Helter Skelter is one of the songs performed on the Beatles' double album, The Beatles, also known as the White Album, that was released in 1968, the same year as Rosemary's Baby. Helter Skelter was interpreted by cult leader Charles Manson as a message predicting an interracial war in the US, and he named his vision of this uprising Helter Skelter after the song. Others involved in the film also were dealt some pretty bad cards. Even Mia Farrow didn't escape heartache. During the filming of Rosemary's Baby, Farrow was married to Frank Sinatra, but he was angry that the film overran its original schedule, as he had wanted his wife to star in his film, The Detective. So he sent his lawyer to the set of Rosemary's Baby and served Farrow with divorce papers. Another who suffered was the writer of the original novel, W.A.R.N.I.N.G, on which the film was based. After the film was released, his life began to crumble, and he began receiving attacks from the Catholic Church. But perhaps the crudest thing for Levin was when 30 years after the success of Rosemary's Baby, he wrote a sequel called Son of Rosemary, but the novel was a huge flop, and it was the last book he wrote before his death in 2007. The question is, was all this just a coincidence, or was there some sort of curse attached to Rosemary's Baby? Introducing Dorothy Dandridge. Introducing Dorothy Dandridge is a TV film starring Halle Berry that aired in the US in 1999. The film documents the true story of Dorothy Dandridge, the first black actress to be nominated for a Best Actress Oscar nomination for her role in the movie Carmen Jones in 1954. The film tells of Dorothy's early life and abuse at the hands of her mother's female lover, as well as her doomed first marriage to Harold Nicholas, that couldn't survive the stress of bringing up their mentally disabled child. We again will not spoil the film, but it seems Dorothy Dandridge wanted to help with the movie From Beyond the Grave, and after the filming was finished, Halle Berry told Ebony magazine that she believes the ghost of Dandridge visited her. According to Berry, there were strange incidents that occurred in her dressing room, and she believes it was linked to a white dress that she wore that had once belonged to Dandridge. After filming, she took the dress home, and the strange incidents followed her. Berry's housekeeper claims she heard a vanity chair moving by itself, and the fridge door would randomly fly open on its own. However, the final straw was when one night Berry heard the strange sound of water boiling and saw a baby doll's dress floating in mid-air in front of Dandridge's actual dress. She was so spooked by the incidents that she realised that even though she desperately wanted to keep the dress, it had to go. Paramount Studios Stage 19. Hollywood is the home of many eerie tales, so many in fact that there is a tour called Haunted Hollywood, and one of the most famous stops on this tour is the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. However, it's not the cemetery we are going to look at, but rather Paramount Studios that is located next to it, where many strange occurrences have been reported over the years that are believed to be attributed to the many stars that are buried in the cemetery, coming back to haunt the place of their glory days. Security guards who work around the sound stages of Paramount Studios have been so spooked by some of the odd occurrences that they have renamed the place Paranormal Paramount. They have encountered apparitions and strange men lingering around the stages who simply disappear when challenged, as well as lights turning on and off for no apparent reason, and disturbances to electronic equipment. One security guard also claims to have met the ghost of Rudolph Valentino, who is buried in the Hollywood Forever Cemetery. However, without a doubt, the most haunted place in the building is Stage 19, the place where many well-known productions were filmed, including Citizen Kane, Happy Days, Wings, and ironically, the movie Ghost. The stage is said to be haunted by Heather O'Rourke, the little girl who played Carol Ann Freeling in the Poltergeist horror films. Heather also had a reoccurring role in Happy Days for 12 episodes between 1982 to 1983. Tragically, Heather died in 1988 in mysterious circumstances, allegedly from cardiac arrest and septic shock, caused by misdiagnosed intestinal stenosis. She was just 12 years old. Allegedly, most nights, security guards hear running and laughter on the catwalk above the set, which is where Heather liked to play when she was working on Happy Days. They also sometimes see a little girl playing on the stage, but if they approach her to ask her to leave, she runs off. It's also claimed that visitors to the stage have asked the spirits to come out and play, and although she doesn't appear, they often feel an unknown presence brushing past them. But perhaps the creepiest sighting of Heather was during the shootings of Wings, when the editor of the show caught a glimpse of her in the background of one of the shots. So why would a little girl want to haunt an old studio? Well, to paranormal enthusiasts, Heather perfectly fits the profile of a restless spirit. She died young without marrying or fulfilling her full potential. She also died an unnatural death in odd circumstances. All the things that point to unfinished business and cause a restless soul to return to the place they felt the happiest in life, which apparently was on the carefree set of Happy Days. Annabelle Comes Home. Annabelle Comes Home is a 2019 American supernatural horror film based on the legend of the Annabelle doll. It's the 7th installment in the Conjuring universe franchise, and the 3rd to focus solely on the doll, and the most recent film in this haunted set list. Now, we've mentioned the creepy Annabelle doll before here on Top 5s, so you can check out our videos on that if you want to learn more about her. Since the real story surfaced, fictional versions of the doll have appeared in the Conjuring universe franchise movies that include The Conjuring, Annabelle, Annabelle Creation, and the latest installment, Annabelle Comes Home. Although it's worth pointing out, the real Annabelle is still safely locked in her case in Connecticut, and the doll used in the movie is a far sinister looking creation. Although strange things have happened on the sets of all of these movies, we're just going to look at the Annabelle Comes Home film. This movie initially tells the story of the Annabelle doll, but then tells a fictional version of what's happened after Ed and Lorraine Warren take the doll home, and she starts terrorizing the couple's daughter and 2 teenage babysitters. Some of the incidents reported from the movie set include chairs moving, plates flying off racks, and unknown fingerprints appearing in dust, as well as a piano bench mysteriously moving overnight on several occasions, despite no crew being there at the time and the stage being locked. Also, when a journalist visited the set, his watch went haywire and changed time, speeding up and jumping ahead hours at a time. But after he left the set, the time was accurate and everything was back to normal. Just like in the movie, it seems the younger members of the cast experienced the strangest things, and the actress who plays one of the babysitters in the film is quoted as saying, "One time in particular, after we were filming a scene downstairs, at the end of the scene we'd run up the stairs and go past the Warrens' bedroom, and every time we ran past the door, Annabelle was in a different position. There was not enough time for someone to go up there and move the doll, so we do not know how that happened. She would be in either the rocking chair or sitting on the bed." However, she got off lightly compared to 12-year-old McKenna Grace, who played the Warrens' daughter Judy. For her, things got really strange. She explained that shortly before filming began, she woke up one morning and had this weird, small cut on her forehead near her hairline in the shape of a triangle. She was further freaked out when all of the cast were on set for the first time when the lights went out, and all the cast members were asking, "Annabelle, are you there?" Then the lights turned back on, and McKenna realised her nose was bleeding heavily, but as soon as she left the set to get a tissue, it stopped. McKenna also experienced unexplained loss of power in her trailer, doors that she found open when they'd been shut, and a shadowy figure asleep in one of the empty rooms on location. Not only that, but a witch bottle she had gotten as a gift in the film began heating up out of nowhere and burned in her hand. Also, a glass case suddenly fell over right where she and co-star Madison had just been standing, narrowly missing both of them. But possibly the creepiest and inexplainable thing on set was the camera that couldn't capture a photo of Annabelle. During filming, McKenna bought a new instant camera to take pictures with cast and crew, but every time she snapped a photo with Annabelle in it, the picture came out black. She tried 2 different cameras, and both times it came out black, whilst every other photo was fine. If that wasn't banal enough, when she took a selfie of herself and 2 other co-stars, who play the Warrens in the film, the large cross that Patrick Wilson is wearing for the movie was whited out in the photo with black stuff around it. But that was not the only problems with the cross. McKenna wore a rainbow-coloured rosary, and one day the crucifix just fell off onto the floor. She had been wearing it all day and it was fine, then all of a sudden it just broke for no reason. And then there was the Annabelle doll herself. In one scene, McKenna and Madison were walking down a corridor and they heard 3 knocks on a door, but as the camera was rolling they ignored it, but after hearing it for a 3rd time, they went to investigate. When they opened the door, Annabelle was sitting there in a rocking chair. At first, they thought it was the crew messing around, but when they heard the knocking again on the next take, they opened the door again and Annabelle was gone. Just a side note for those who haven't seen The Conjuring, 3 knocks is a sign of the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Haunted, or just good promotion for the movie? What do you think? So that's 5 incredibly creepy haunted film sets in Hollywood. We hope you've enjoyed this spooky video, and are loving all of these scary videos this month. It's our favourite month of the year. Thanks for watching, and as always, we'll see you in the next video.